Is now outside this jurisdiction. Distribution's been varied through a lot of these areas. We plan on using wood poles and self-weathering steel poles. There's fewer guy wires. Non-spectral wire, that's the doled wire. Longer spans require fewer poles through the area. And as I mentioned before, there's fewer double circuit poles or lines as well as part of this application from what was originally submitted to the Board of Adjustments. So we've coordinated with various other municipalities, DOT, Mountain Association of Governments, the Corps of Engineers, as well as local jurisdictions on this project. We think that we've done all of the coordinating that we can to try to site this as best as possible. We've acquired all of the permits that we need from the state and federal level. This is a really needed project, as Jason mentioned, from a schedule perspective. We really need to get decisions on this and be able to move forward from a design perspective and get this long material placed out order so we can continue to serve this area in a reliable way. We're asking you to approve this application.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
I don't think many people understand how important this project is. Can you tell us, if we don't do this, what's going to happen? What are the things that we're going to go through? What is going to happen with if something goes bad and then we don't have electricity? So can you explain a little more?
So currently we have a single point of interconnection to the electric grid, and that point of interconnection is fed from a 138 kV line that comes up Provo Canyon. So if Provo Canyon were to have a wildfire, we're black. And we're black till that fire gets put out and that line can be rebuilt. Let's say that there's never any type of catastrophic event like that. Our relays are designed to protect the equipment so that we don't burn it down at our one point of interconnect. And so those relays will open up at 49 megawatts of energy. We hit 44 megawatts this year, nearly 44 megawatts this year. We're growing at about a 2% clip, and on any given year, depending on growth, depending on how much commercial growth there is, our peaks have been growing between 2 and 5% per year. So when the utility's on peak, we only have that interconnection point to play with. And so that means that as a system operator, we've got to make some really tough decisions to keep the system whole. And that means literally shedding load. And you've heard about this in areas like California, Southern Nevada, where they shed load. And it's because of projects like this that just, for whatever reason can't get built. And so we shed load. And we shed load until we get beneath the right number. And then when, the number gets low enough because people have gone to bed or whatever, then we can start bringing the power back on. And we have planning in place for this because we're getting so close to this, and it's just something I don't want to do. We still have time to get this done and get it done right and make it so that our electric system, your electric system as owners of Heber Planning Power, stays reliable and has a really good backbone for a long time. So,
thank you. So what it means is that you're going to have a loop where
yes.
If something goes bad, there's a bigger bit of the north.
This is going to loop the system. So if there's something that happens in Provo Canyon, an avalanche, something like that, we can feed from the Silver Creek area. And if there's something bad that happens up in the Silver Creek area, we can feed from the Provo Canyon feed. So just super strengthening of our system with completeness loop.
It's both reliability from loop feed as well as capacity. It allows us to serve that immediate need.
Jason, let me ask you a question. You're running your public utility at full speed and full capacity all the time. What happens? How long can you do that, what happens to your redundancy?
Right now I have no redundancy on this 40 stop on our transmission system. Until we get this second feed in, I have no redundancy.
So if you're out there hauling hay and you're running the tractor wide open heading up the hill,
Yeah.
and somebody wants to throw another bale of hay on that wagon, and you're almost stopped because the tractor can't go any faster,
That's
bales of
good.
hay can you throw on that trailer before something breaks?
Yeah, I mean, we're experiencing like all of those issues. You guys don't see them, but we're dealing with, you know, the drops in voltage because our system is, you know, at max. And like that South 46 kV line, you know, you guys don't see it, but, you know, without having that South 46 kV line to where it can pack the whole system, we're at severe risk right now.
So what happens to the life expectancy of the infrastructure that we have if we're pushing it that hard?
So there's some federal requirements, regulations tied to some of this. In emergency circumstances, you're allowed to run your system for some predefined periods of time at a high speed, like transmission conductors. Don't need to dive into all the specifics of it, but as you push that to the limit, the useful life starts to drop, and you can actually do permanent damage and do permanent damage to that equipment, which really increases the cost to all ratepayers. Ultimately, there's limits to what we're allowed to do, even from a federal requirement, because of the impacts, say like national defense and other types of things. We need a reliable grid in order to function as a society.
So if I understand, Rocky Mountain's also helping out to build this line financially.
Correct.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Back on, when you talked about if you go from an overhead to an underground line and there's poles that need to be there, how do those poles compare to just a normal overhead pole? So that little section just north of town at 950 north there, and you start heading west there's a small section there you needed 4 poles. So size of those 4 poles, for instance, compared to the 6 poles that was all overhead.
Well, they're dead-end structures, so it would be very similar to adding 2 dead ends right where that dead end structure is right now at the end of 40. Only there's all the underground equipment on that pole as well. So you've got lightning arresters and very large underground cable coming up to tie into the overhead cable. And they're very big. We have to split the circuits because we can't share those vaults. That's a safety code requirement, meaning if we de-energize our vault, we can get in it. But if they have to keep their line energized, then we can't get in that vault. Those vaults have to be completely de-energized to even enter them. So and there's a picture. Looks like the mayor has one. She took one. So the mayor took a trip up to Lower Valley where they've done this underground, and
go back to
the
poles. There you go.
so those are the dead-end structures and the underground dip poles the Lower Valley installed for their underground project at Teton Village. They're very large.
And the overhead line would have like tangent wood poles and maybe like one steel at the angle. It would be a smaller steel pole than the.
So I have a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
The first one is, with what you're anticipating, how long will this expansion keep your system running adequately?
You know, that's hard to summarize, but real quickly, to well beyond 100 megawatts. So our system could literally double in size again, but then it's not, even at that point, it's just Heber Planning Power adding equipment to the substation, inside the substation. It's not a full-blown transmission upgrade.
So and I probably worded that wrongly, but from the standpoint of meeting the service needs of the valley,
Yes.
right, you get everything you're looking how many more years is your system adequate based on projected growth? 30 years, 40 years, 50
Yes.
years?
Yeah, we're projecting this to be a 25 to 30-year project with the current equipment in that substation that we're planning on putting in there.
And then I did have a chance to read your letter from legal counsel, and unfortunately I found it to be a lot more combative and collaborative. And you put it in 7 pages, but would have been read in 1. It was a bunch of non-answers. And I understand that this is a purely administrative decision, and so I'm sensitive to that, but at the same time, I think there are some questions that we really would like to have answers to make an informed decision. I'm not debating the need of what's being pitched, but I think to feel like we're making an informed decision and meeting our city code too, there are some more answers, in particular as to easements. Because we have to make sure we're addressing mitigation to address property value issues. And I felt like your legal counsel's letter didn't really give us much information in terms of easements. It just says, we don't have to give that to you because it's not appropriate for you to consider it. But I respectfully disagree. If our code requires us to look at effects on property values, then I think we have to look at the scope of easements. And I understand you've already got a lot of lines in place. So my question is, are you looking to expand the easements for the existing lines? And if not, for the new lines, what would those easements look like? And again, I think we have to consider that the impact of those things on to at least know what they would be for those property owners.
Where we have a 46 kV prescriptive easement today, we're not looking to upgrade our easements where we have that 46 kV prescriptive easement today because we're not putting 138 kV on it. Now, where we are putting the 138 kV down the proposed bypass route and out here on the north end of town, we will purchase the easements that are required to operate that line.
And which are what, right? How many feet and what?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways to go about calculating width. A typical or heuristic standard that's thrown out on 138 is a 30-foot offset from center line. So it's really case by case. A lot of this is going to be sited along bypass route or some other corridor, or there are some existing facilities there, and so you don't need the full 30 feet. It's some subset of that amount. And it's really hard to answer kind of that specific question. What I will say is, and I'm sorry if it felt combative, I don't think it was meant to be that way. It was more to try to keep the conversation driving this forward. But whether this commission does something or not, we're held to follow the state laws surrounding land use and easement rights and all of those things. So any action or inaction on this commission's part doesn't make it right for us to be in trespass, right? If we need to have an easement, we have to go get an easement. And the state's already set aside a process and a procedure to ensure that fair, equitable, marketable value is paid for any taking related to that.
So let me ask you this question. There has been a lot of concern that's been expressed to me over those easements. Concern over the fact that if those easements are granted for the type of system that's going to your plan and proposing the plan to put in now, does that automatically mean that 40, 50 years down the road you just put in larger poles and lines, or does that mean that you have to come back?
Yeah, so
look at that issue on for the community.
I can speak in general terms to that. The easement that we obtain typically is a fixed width easement, and you have to operate the line within that width. If you increase the voltage, your width has to increase. So I think there's two parts kind of going into your question. The first part is the easement width itself acts as somewhat of a constraint to the constraint that we're bringing up. Not to say that there's no flexibility within that, but it is a limiting factor. The other thing is that per your ordinance, we would have to come back at that point, and there would be another public process. So I think you got belt and suspenders on some of those concerns.
No worries. I did, but they've been asked, that's why.
Sure, no, that's fair.
So another question, maybe Jason, you can address this. Have you looked at cost for operation and maintenance for the next, say, 20 years on this system? If you go bury the poles, good
we don't have any of this type of voltage buried, so we don't have any history of that. I've talked to Lower Valley about, their feelings on it. I mean, clearly the underground it's got a little bit shorter life than an overhead power line, and that's concerning to me. That we're going to be, this underground wire is good for 25 to 30 years, and then we're going to put that on rate base to re-pull it in, where this pole line might still be adequate in 40 years.
So for your O&M cost then?
For O&M, O&M is going to be, O&M is going to cost you more to operate the underground system. There's going to be more outages, probably with the overhead system, just because the lines are exposed. And so, as far as the O&M costs, I really can't tell you whether one is going to be better than the other as far as operation and maintenance costs. I can tell you that to go underground is, 4 times as expensive. And that's even more for Heber Light Power. And as an owner of Heber Light Power, Heber City should know this, that once we go underground, we're not sharing costs with Rocky Mountain Power anymore, as per that contract. So Heber Light Power is going on its own, and Rocky Mountain Power is going on its own, and somebody's got to pay for both.
So then obviously the cost of the ratepayers is going to be considerably more than 4 times,
Yes.
because we're going to be eating the part of Rocky Mountain Power otherwise.
Yes.
Am I right to assume then that the entire corridor is going to be put underground, or is it only a few sections that go through the city that are underground?
None of the transmission right now from the county is going underground. They've given us a conditional use permit for an overhead power line. So on the distribution, all of the distribution in Heber City is going underground that is attached to this line.
All right. So I guess my question is, I'm sure that's a question that a lot of folks are wondering the same thing here. Does it really make sense then to put part of the transmission line underground for a few feet and then jump back up and then go across the surface?
Well, that's what, I had that conversation with the mayor and the city manager, because, had Wasatch County said, yeah, we're going to underground this line, and the bulk of the line is in Wasatch County, and so that was that would have been a very difficult decision for the county council. But now, because of the county saying you can go ahead and build an overhead power line, there are very small sections of this dual circuit that are in Heber now. And so you're really like going, 2 dead end structures to dip underground, and then 125 yards, and then 2 more dead end structures.
So really, you're not saving a whole lot.
You're not saving a whole lot of pole. No, I mean, you might save a pole here or there, but you're not saving that much pole in Heber City.
Sounds like on the one stretch, you save 6 poles, we got to put up 4.
Right.
So we're really only saving 2.
2, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? We still haven't done the public hearing yet.
Oh, I'm just waiting. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. We appreciate your information. And I know the mayor, did we see you in one of those pictures coming out of the manhole?
That
Did
was
you-
Celeste. I'm in that picture though.
Did you have anything you wanted to address?
I just have two minutes if I
Okay,
can.
go ahead. Why don't you go ahead?
Go up to the podium.
I will. Go to the podium. It's nice to have all the rules up here. Thank you. My name is Kelly Clark. So anyway, I just wanted to first thank all of you for your service. I don't think anybody realizes how much time and effort you put into this. Maybe your families do. And nobody's looking at things saying, oh, that's so much better because of the comment you made or the research you did. They're only going to point out the things that they don't like. And I get that, and I just want to thank you for all that you guys do. I wanted to especially come after you'd recommended to bury the lines, and then the council didn't do that. And I didn't want you to feel like they had dismissed your suggestion or not valued your opinion. I think there was a combination of the timing of being able to flesh through that process and get it on a ballot, and then this issue with the county already issuing a permit for overground lines, and then also just the cost. From my political sense says that even if we put it on the ballot, it probably wouldn't pass. It would be nice to know, but a lot of people are so cost sensitive right now that it's a difficult issue. However, I'm not saying I would be opposed in it, and I don't know if the timing would work if we want to try and pull this back up again, but I just want to make sure that you saw these dip poles that would have to be at the ends of each section of the city. And then I just wanted to point out the differences from the original project that was proposed in, that was on track in 2017 and what's happened over the last year and a half, specifically to benefit Heber. I feel like Heber's been a big winner in all of this extra time and research as far as mitigating the impact and making it a lot less, damaging to the view of our community. So obviously the big one is the relocation of the substation. It was going to be right behind Creeper, our #1 tourist destination, that area where a lot of people come. It's now been moved, as you know, to an area that's just outside of the city along the bypass, which is also a place that people are concerned about because it is in the Northfields. However, there were just not very many options to keep it on the same line and not impose a lot of costs and to make the whole project work. Our staff spent a ton of time trying to come up with another thing. When I first was elected, I said, we cannot have a giant substation behind our tourist destination. That's a great, area for our community, and to put a giant substation there just seemed horrible to me. So anyway, they've worked so hard to come up with another alternative, and I think this has done a couple of things besides moving an ugly substation. Again, 15 structures that were initially proposed to be dual circuit are now single circuit, and these are the ones all around the event center, the railroad, the Country Meadow Estate subdivision. I apologize if you talked about this. Did you guys go through all the details of this? Okay, I have another job and it kept me somewhere else, so I'm sorry I was tardy. Okay, then just the last thing is the 10 distribution, so the distribution lines, that's another biggie. To bury those distribution lines, which is what the board agreed to do, it removes 10 distribution poles in the Southfield Road area and removes the 6 spans of distribution underbuilt along 650 South, as well as the communication lines on the transmission poles, and allow those to be placed underground. So although they're not going to be invisible, once we looked at, once the board said, let's bury the distribution and do some of those changes, but we're not willing to rate base the whole thing. So then it became up to individual cities, and here we are. But knowing what we found out there, as well as, we also showed Tony just kind of so then you go down in there into the, what do we call that? Vault. Sorry, they're like every quarter mile, and keep going. Anyway, so they had to run the extra line, so in case, that's turned sideways. Do one more and see if it changes. I don't know.
Are you gonna rotate it?
Yeah. Anyway, so we go down that vault and you see where the lines are. But they also said, the other tricky thing is, if you want to do development along that line, it's a whole different ballgame than attaching to an overhead line because of the cost and difficulty. Some people had asked about the EMF issue as far as the distance from the lines and the impact, and it's worse because you're just closer to it. The vault doesn't stop it, the ground doesn't stop it, and you're closer to the exposure to the EMF. One more and see if I think I showed a picture of the actual line. Yeah, so the inside of that line is the actual line, and then they have to insulate it when it goes underground, so it becomes that bigger line. Anyway, I don't want to take any more time.
Where is this again?
This was in, it's called the Lower Valley, but it's in Jackson Hole near Teton. And interestingly, they buried 2.5 miles of their whole thing, just this one section. And what they did is after they had a big storm and they were knocked down and they had to rebuild, they did it. And they were able to get, or they're in the process of getting, $2 million from FEMA. So that also subsidized their cost. So it just seemed to be so overwhelming to think about our community paying for those big numbers without any help from something like that as well. So anyway, I just wanted to share those things with you, and thank you again.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your thoughts, comments. With that, we'll go ahead and open up the